She cared for a silent patient. For months, when he finally spoke, his first words were a confession. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's go back to our main character. The hallway of Westbridge Private Hospital gleamed under the fluorescent lights, sterile and silent except for the soft hum of machines. It was 11:47 p.m. when Nurse Anna Monroe clocked in for her night shift. She had done this routine for almost 2 years, but tonight her heart beat faster than usual. Her supervisor had called her into the office with a single sentence. "You've been assigned a special patient." Inside the private suite at the end of the corridor, a man lay motionless, his face pale beneath the glow of the monitors. His name was Grant Carter, the youngest CEO to ever appear on Forbes before a car crash left him unable to speak, trapped somewhere between consciousness and silence. Anna stood by the doorway, gripping the chart in her hands. Everyone in the hospital knew his story: the empire, the fall, the coma that refused to end. But no one volunteered for his care anymore. "He doesn't respond," they said. "He's just a shell." Yet when Anna stepped closer, she felt something shift in the room, a faint awareness in the air. As if the man behind the stillness could somehow hear her breathing. She swallowed hard and forced a gentle smile. "Good evening, Mr. Carter. I'll be your nurse tonight." No response, only the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor. She checked his IV line, adjusted the pillow, then prepared the warm cloth for his nightly bath. As she touched his skin, cool, smooth, unmoving, she felt a strange jolt run through her fingertips. "You probably can't hear me," she whispered, "but I'll talk anyway. It's part of the deal, right?" Her voice was soft, half teasing, half trembling. She spoke about ordinary things: the weather outside, the new cafeteria coffee, how the vending machine still ate her quarters. The more she talked, the lighter the silence became. On the table beside him lay a silver pocket watch, slightly dented but meticulously polished. She picked it up carefully, noticing the inscription inside. "For the one I failed to protect." She frowned, unsure what it meant, and placed it back exactly where it had been. The hum of the machines blended with the rain tapping against the window. "You must have loved someone deeply," she murmured. Whoever they were, they mattered. She didn't expect an answer, but for a moment, just one heartbeat, she thought she saw his fingers twitch. Her breath caught. "Mr. Carter?" she whispered, leaning closer. Nothing. The monitor beeped steady, indifferent. Maybe it was her imagination, she told herself. Exhaustion playing tricks. Still, she stayed a moment longer, watching him breathe. "I'll be back tomorrow," she said softly. "Same time, same nurse." She turned off the lamp and stepped into the hallway, unaware that behind her, the man's hand moved again, slight, trembling, real. And somewhere in the deep silence of his mind, a voice was whispering her name. The next night, Anna returned to the same quiet hallway, the same hum of machines echoing faintly in the background. It had become a kind of ritual now. She checked her reflection in the glass before entering Grant Carter's room, smoothing the loose strand of hair that always seemed to escape her bun. The door hissed softly as she pushed it open. The air inside was cooler than usual, carrying that sterile scent of antiseptic and faint lavender from the cleaning staff. Grant was in the same position, his dark hair neat against the pillow, his features calm but unreadable. "Good evening, Mr. Carter," she said, setting down her chart. "Back for another night of me talking your ear off." She smiled to herself. Talking to him had started as a habit to fill the silence, but somewhere along the way, it had become something more, something she looked forward to. She began the routine carefully, checking his pulse, his vitals, the IV line. Then she sat beside him and spoke, her voice low and warm. "You know, I had this patient once who never said a word to anyone. But every time his favorite show came on, his heart rate spiked. Maybe it is the same with you. Maybe you can still hear things that matter." The heart monitor remained steady, but the idea comforted her. She reached for the small silver pocket watch again, tracing the inscription with her thumb. "For the one I failed to protect," she read quietly. I keep wondering who that was. A wife? A daughter? A friend? She set it back and sighed. Maybe I will never know, but you are still here, and that has to mean something. She adjusted his blanket, pausing when she noticed a subtle twitch in his hand. Her pulse jumped. Grant? She whispered this time, testing the sound of his name. The moment stretched. His fingers moved again, slow but deliberate, brushing against the fabric of the sheet. It was not a reflex. It was real. "Oh my God," she breathed, rushing to his side. "Can you hear me? Squeeze my hand if you can hear me." For a second, nothing. Then faintly, his fingers tightened around hers. Anna froze. The breath left her chest all at once. "That is it," she whispered, tears welling up. "That is it. You are still in there." She pressed the call button for the attending doctor, her voice trembling as she explained what had happened. But when the team arrived, the movement stopped. The doctor gave her a sympathetic look. "Sometimes muscles spasm," he said gently. "It happens. Do not get your hopes up." Anna wanted to argue, but she swallowed the words. After they left, she sat beside Grant again, her hand still tingling from his touch. "You moved," she whispered. "I know you did. You are trying, aren't you?" Her voice cracked, but she kept talking, telling him about her mother, about how she had died after a surgery went wrong, how it had pushed Anna into nursing school. "I guess I wanted to fix what I could not fix back then," she said softly. "Maybe that is why I am here, talking to a man who might never answer." Outside, thunder rumbled. The rain began tapping harder against the window, casting a shimmer of city lights across the floor. Anna stood, ready to leave, when a sound stopped her. It was faint, a breath that did not belong to the machine. She turned sharply. Grant's lips had parted slightly, a fragile sound escaping. Not a word, just a breath, but it was something. She took a hesitant step forward. "Grant?" she whispered again. His eyelids flickered, almost imperceptibly, then stilled. She stared at him for what felt like hours, her heart pounding. Maybe it was nothing. Or maybe it was the beginning. As she turned off the lamp and whispered goodnight, she did not notice the faint tear sliding down the corner of his eye, catching the light before it disappeared into the pillow. Days passed, and the hospital felt different to Anna now. Each shift she took with Grant was filled with a quiet anticipation, like standing on the edge of something miraculous. Every time she entered his room, she half expected to see him looking back at her, awake, aware, alive. The heart monitor had become her soundtrack, steady and faithful, a reminder that he was still fighting. One morning, just after sunrise, she walked in, carrying a cup of coffee and a small book. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," she said softly. "You missed a beautiful sunrise today. Maybe next time you can see it for yourself." She began her routine, adjusting his sheets, changing his forebag, checking vitals. Everything was normal until she noticed the faintest flicker under his closed eyelids. She leaned in closer, her pulse quickening. "Grant," she whispered. "If you can hear me, it is all right. You are safe." Slowly, unbelievably, his eyelids moved again, and then they opened. For the first time, she saw his eyes gray, deep, confused, but alive. Anna froze, her hands trembling. "Mr. Carter?" she gasped. His gaze darted around the room, disoriented, then settled on her face. The corners of his mouth parted slightly, but no sound came out. Only a weak exhale. Tears sprang to her eyes as she reached for the call button. Within moments, the room filled with the flurry of nurses and doctors. "He is awake," Anna shouted, her voice shaking. "Doctor!" Harris hurried in, disbelief flickering across his features as he examined Grant. "Mr. Carter, can you hear me?" he asked. Grant blinked once, twice, then nodded faintly. "That is impossible," the doctor murmured. After all this time, they checked his vitals, ran tests, and finally declared that he was stable. But when everyone left, Anna stayed behind, unable to stop smiling. She pulled up a chair beside his bed. "You scared all of us, you know," she said gently, "but I am really glad you decided to come back." Grant's lips moved again, this time forming silent words. He pointed weakly toward the whiteboard at the foot of the bed. She quickly handed him a marker. His hand shook as he wrote slowly, the letters crooked but clear. "Thank you." Anna's breath caught. "You do not have to thank me," she whispered. "You did the hard part." He blinked, his gaze soft, almost searching. "How long?" he wrote next. 6 months, she replied quietly. "You have been asleep for 6 months." He closed his eyes briefly, absorbing the weight of it. "Family?" he wrote next. Anna hesitated. "They have not visited," she said carefully. "But you are safe now." He nodded slightly, then underlined the word safe, before his hand went limp again from exhaustion. She touched his shoulder lightly. "Rest," she said. "You have a lot of time to catch up on." For the next few days, Grant's recovery was slow but steady. Physical therapy sessions left him drained, but he was determined. Sometimes Anna would find him awake at night, staring at the ceiling. "Can you not sleep?" she would ask softly. He would shake his head. "Memories," he rasped one night, his first word barely audible. She smiled, encouraging him. "Memories are good. It means your mind is healing." He shook his head again, his voice hoarse but certain. "Not all memories," he managed to say, his first full sentence. Anna froze, realizing there was something heavy behind those words, something unsaid, but she did not press him. "Then let us make new ones," she whispered instead. The faintest hint of a smile crossed his face before he drifted back to sleep. As Anna turned off the lamp, she glanced once more at the silver pocket watch on the table. Its lid was open now, glinting under the soft light. The inscription seemed to shimmer as if alive. "For the one I failed to protect." She frowned slightly, unaware that behind her, Grant's fingers were brushing the edge of that very watch, his expression shadowed with a memory too painful to speak yet. It had been 3 weeks since Grant Carter had opened his eyes, and the hospital staff still spoke about it like it was a miracle. Most patients in his condition never came back. But Grant was proving to be an exception in every way. Each day he grew stronger, his voice returning slowly, his words short but deliberate. Anna had stayed by his side through every step. "Morning, Mr. Carter," she said, walking in with a cup of coffee and that same soft smile that had become part of his recovery. "How are you feeling today?" "Alive," he whispered, his tone rough but sincere. "That is progress," she said with a small laugh. She adjusted his blanket, checking the monitors. He watched her quietly, his gray eyes studying the way she moved, the way she always hummed when she worked. He could not remember much from before the accident, but her voice felt like something familiar, something that anchored him. "You should rest after your shift," he murmured, surprising her. "You look tired." She smiled at that. "I will rest when you can walk without the nurse station panicking." "That may take a while," he said, his lips curving faintly. "Then I guess I will be here a while too." Her words made something tighten in his chest, something fragile and human. Later that afternoon, the physical therapist came by for their session. Anna helped steady him as he tried to stand. His legs trembled under his weight, but he refused to give up. Sweat dotted his forehead, and every movement looked painful. "You are doing great," Anna said, holding his arm for support. "Just one more step." He gritted his teeth, forcing his muscles to obey. "You do not have to stay," he muttered. "I do," she replied softly. "You gave me your word. Remember? You promised to try, and I promised not to let you quit." When he finally sat back down, his breathing heavy, she wiped his brow with a towel. "You know," he said after a pause, "I used to think people helped others only when there was something in it for them. But you do not even flinch when I am at my worst." "Maybe I have seen worse," she said quietly. Her words lingered in the air, unspoken stories hiding behind her calm smile. Later that evening, while Anna was charting notes, she noticed the silver pocket watch sitting open on the bedside table again. Grant's hand was resting near it. "You always keep that with you," she said softly. "Was it a gift?" His expression changed, shadowed by something distant. "It belonged to someone I could not save," he said after a long pause. Anna's heart tightened. "A friend?" "Someone who deserved better," he whispered. "The night of the accident, I was not alone in that car." Anna looked up sharply, but he turned away, his jaw tense. "We will talk about it another time," he said, ending the conversation. She nodded, respecting his silence, but the words stayed with her long after her shift ended. That night, as she walked home through the quiet streets, the city lights blurred with drizzle. She could not stop thinking about the way his voice had cracked, the pain in his eyes when he mentioned the accident. There was something he was not saying, something that went beyond survivor's guilt. The next morning, she found him awake early, staring out the window at the skyline. "You are up before me," she teased, trying to lighten the mood. "Bad dream?" "Memories," he said simply. "Pieces are coming back." "Good," she said gently. "That means your brain is healing." He turned to her, his voice low, almost broken. "Not all healing feels good, Anna." The way he said her name made her chest tighten. He looked like a man haunted by something unspeakable, and for the first time, she wondered if the truth behind that silver watch might be far darker than she had imagined. Outside, the morning sun broke through the clouds, but inside the room, an uneasy shadow lingered quiet, waiting, ready to surface. The next few days blurred together into a quiet rhythm of progress and unspoken tension. Grant's strength was returning, but his eyes had changed. There was a heaviness behind them, a guilt that never left. Anna noticed it every time she entered the room. He would smile faintly when he saw her, but the warmth never reached his eyes. One evening, she found him sitting by the window instead of in bed. The city glowed beneath the dusk sky, and the fading light outlined the hard lines of his face. "You should not be out of bed yet," she said gently, closing the door behind her. "Dr. Harris will have my head if he finds out." Grant turned slightly, his voice low. "I remember the crash now." She froze. "Do you want to talk about it?" He hesitated before nodding. "It was raining that night. My brother Nathan was driving. We were arguing again about the company, about money, about the way I ran things. I told him I wanted to step back, that I was tired of building empires that destroyed people. He laughed and called me weak. I looked away for 1 second, and that is when I saw the headlights. His hand trembled as he spoke. The next thing I knew, we were spinning. The guardrail broke, and everything went black." Anna's throat tightened. "Your brother? Did he survive?" Grant's expression hardened. "He walked away without a scratch. He said I lost control, that it was my fault. But the car's brake line was cut, Anna. Someone wanted me dead." The words hung in the air, heavy and cold. She stared at him, processing what he had just said. "Have you told the police?" "No," he replied quietly. "Nathan controls everything now. If I make a move, he will bury me again." Literally. Anna's heart pounded. "Then you cannot stay here unprotected. Does anyone else know?" "Only you," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "And that scares me more than the accident itself, because I do not want you in danger." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the machines filled the silence. Then Anna moved closer, her voice steady but soft. "You are not alone anymore, Grant. Whatever happens, I am here." His eyes softened, gratitude and pain swirling together. "You should not be," he murmured. "You do not owe me anything." "Maybe not," she said, "but I still choose to stay." That night, as she left the hospital, Anna could not shake the feeling that someone was watching her. The parking lot was dimly lit, and her footsteps echoed too loudly against the concrete. She glanced over her shoulder but saw nothing. Still, a chill ran through her. The next morning, she walked into Grant's room to find Dr. Harris and 2 men in suits waiting. "Miss Monroe," one of them said, flashing a badge. "We are investigating an incident related to Mr. Carter's accident. We understand you have been his primary caregiver." Her stomach dropped. "Incident?" "An anonymous source sent us documentation about tampered brake lines," the man said. "We need to speak to Mr. Carter privately." Anna's eyes darted to Grant, but his expression was calm, too calm. "It is all right," he said. "I will talk to them." She hesitated, then stepped out of the room. Through the glass, she could see the agents talking to him, their faces tense, their questions sharp. When they finally left, Grant sat motionless, staring at the pocket watch in his hands. She walked back in quietly. "What did they say?" He looked up slowly. "They think Nathan is untouchable. But they are wrong. I am not the same man I was before that crash." Anna studied him, realizing that the quiet patient she had met months ago was gone. In his place was a man ready to fight back. "Be careful," she whispered. "I would rather see you heal than see you fall again." Grant met her gaze and nodded. "Then stay close," he said softly, "because I do not want to do this without you." Outside, thunder rolled again, and the faint reflection of lightning flashed across the window, painting both of their faces in white light, two souls standing at the edge of something dangerous, bound together by truth and fate. After that night, everything began to move faster. The investigation spread quietly through the hospital, whispers following every mention of the Carter name. Anna tried to keep her focus on her work, but Grant's presence was always there, a constant in her mind. Each day he grew stronger, his voice steadier, his body no longer frail. Yet his determination to uncover the truth was starting to consume him. "You need rest," she told him one morning as she checked his blood pressure. "You cannot fight if you collapse again." "I am done resting," he said firmly. "Nathan will not stop until he gets what he wants. The only way to protect myself and you is to expose him." His eyes burned with quiet fury, the kind that came from betrayal too deep to name. Anna hesitated. "What are you planning?" He gave a small, tired smile. "I am planning to live, and to make sure no one else pays for my mistakes." That night, she found him sitting upright, laptop on his knees, typing with slow, deliberate precision. "You should not be working," she said, but he did not stop. "I have access to the foundation accounts," he murmured. "Nathan has been funneling money for years through shell charities. If I can trace the transfers, I can prove intent." "You are supposed to be healing," she whispered, "not building a case." He looked up then, his expression softening. "You are the reason I am healing, Anna. That is why I cannot stay silent." Her heart clenched. "Then promise me one thing. Whatever happens, you walk away before it costs you everything again." "I will," he said, but his tone told her otherwise. The next morning, when she arrived, the room was empty. Panic shot through her. She rushed to the nurse's station, but no one had seen him leave. His clothes, his watch, even his medical file were gone. Hours passed before she received a call from an unknown number. "Anna Monroe?" The voice on the other end was strained, rough with static. "Grant," she breathed. "Where are you?" "Do not come looking for me," he said quickly. "Nathan's men are watching. I have what I need. This ends tonight." The line went dead. Anna's hand shook as she ran to Dr. Harris's office. "He left the hospital," she said urgently. "He is not ready. He could collapse." The doctor sighed, rubbing his temples. "Anna, he signed a discharge form this morning. I tried to stop him." She stood frozen, realizing he had planned it all. That evening, rain poured hard over the city. Anna sat by her small kitchen window, staring at her phone, praying for it to ring again. When it finally did, it was not Grant. It was a police officer. "Miss Monroe, we found your contact number in Mr. Carter's file. He is at the station. He asked for you." She did not even grab a coat before rushing out into the storm. When she arrived, Grant sat in an interrogation room, soaked but alive. His hands were bandaged, a bruise forming along his jaw. "He confessed," he said hoarsely when he saw her. "Nathan tried to have me killed, but I recorded everything. It is over." She stepped closer, tears mixing with the rain on her face. "You could have died," she whispered. He smiled faintly, exhausted but free. "Maybe I did. 6 months ago. This is the first time I feel alive again." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the silver watch, placing it on the table between them. "The one I failed to protect was my father," he said quietly. "Nathan caused his death too, covered it up. That is why I carried this guilt. But it ends here." Anna looked at him, realizing that for the first time, the shadow behind his eyes was gone. "Then it is time to start over," she said softly. "Both of us." Grant nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "Only if you are by my side." The officer opened the door, signaling that it was time to leave. As they stepped out into the storm together, the watch ticked softly in his hand, a sound of time beginning again, not just for him, but for them both. 2 months later, the rain had long stopped, and with it, the chaos that had consumed both of their lives. Grant Carter was no longer a patient, no longer a man bound to a hospital bed or haunted by shadows. The world now saw him as a survivor, the CEO who exposed his brother's crimes and rebuilt his company with integrity. But Anna saw him differently. To her, He was the man who had once needed help remembering how to breathe, how to speak, how to live again. One morning, as she stepped out of the elevator onto the top floor of the newly renovated Carter Foundation, she could hardly believe how far they had come. The air smelled faintly of fresh paint and coffee, and the sound of her heels echoed softly across the marble floor. Miss Monroe, a receptionist, greeted her warmly. "Mr. Carter is waiting for you in his office." Anna smiled politely, still not used to hearing that title attached to her name. When she entered the office, Grant was standing by the window, dressed in a dark suit, the city skyline stretching behind him. He turned, his smile quiet but genuine. "You are right on time," he said. "Old habits," she replied lightly. "Nurses are never late." He chuckled at that, then gestured toward the large table in the center of the room. "I wanted you to see this first," he said. Spread across the table were architectural renderings and project plans. "We are opening the first rehabilitation center under the foundation next month. It will focus on trauma recovery for patients like me, or like the person I used to be." Anna scanned the drawings, her heart swelling with pride. "You really did it," she said softly. "You turned all that pain into something good. You helped me remember why it mattered," he said, his voice lowering. "You never gave up on me, even when I had given up on myself." She looked away, the emotion in his tone almost too much to bear. "That was my job," she said, but he shook his head. "No, Anna, you went far beyond your job." For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant hum of the city. He reached into his pocket and took out the familiar silver pocket watch, the same one she had seen countless times by his hospital bed. He placed it in her hand. "It is yours now," he said. She looked down at it, startled. "I cannot take this. It belonged to your father." "It belongs to the person who gave me a second chance," he said firmly. "And that is you." The warmth of the metal against her palm seemed to pulse with life. "Grant," she began, but her words faltered as he stepped closer. "Anna," he said quietly, "I meant what I said at the station. I do not want to do any of this without you." "You do not need me anymore," she said gently. "You have healed." "No," he said. "I am healing because you are here." The sincerity in his eyes left her speechless. She wanted to deny it, to keep that careful line between them, but the truth had already crossed it. Before she could respond, there was a knock at the door. Dr. Harris stepped in, his familiar stern expression softening when he saw them. "You look well, Mr. Carter," he said. "And you, Miss Monroe, have made quite the impression around here. The foundation could use more people like you." Grant smiled faintly. "I already have her on my team," he said. "Doctor?" Harris raised an eyebrow, then nodded approvingly before leaving them alone again. When the door closed, Grant looked back at her, his voice quiet. "There is one more thing," he said. "Next week, we are hosting a charity gala to mark the foundation's reopening. I would like you to be there with me." "As what?" she asked softly. His answer was simple. "As someone who saved my life." She looked at him for a long time before nodding, her voice barely a whisper. "Then I will be there." The silver watch ticked softly in her hand as the city lights flickered below, marking the rhythm of something new, something neither of them dared to name yet, but both of them finally ready to feel. The night of the charity gala arrived, and the city shimmered under a sea of golden lights. The Carter Foundation's grand hall, once a place of silence and recovery, was now filled with laughter, music, and the sound of champagne glasses clinking softly. Anna stood near the entrance, wearing a simple navy blue gown that made her look both elegant and quietly radiant. She was not used to being surrounded by this kind of wealth. But tonight was not about money, it was about purpose. About people who had been broken, finding a way to heal again. Grant had arranged it all himself. The new rehabilitation center was about to open, and this gala was the celebration of that dream. When he finally appeared, stepping down the marble staircase in a tailored black suit, the room seemed to shift. Conversations paused, cameras flashed, and every head turned. But his eyes searched for only one person, and when he found Anna across the room, his expression softened in a way that no photograph could ever capture. "You made it," he said, as he reached her, his voice warm, low, familiar. "I promised I would," she replied with a small smile. "You clean up well, Mr. Carter." "And you," he said, pausing to take her in. You look exactly how I remember you the first night I woke up, like the only thing in the room worth looking at." She laughed softly, shaking her head. "You should save lines like that for your speech." "It is not a line," he said simply, and something in his tone made her heart stumble. Before she could respond, the host called everyone's attention to the stage. Grant stepped forward to speak, the spotlight catching the faint scar near his temple, a quiet reminder of everything he had survived. "Good evening," he began, his voice steady. "6 months ago, I did not think I would stand here again. I was a man who had everything but understood nothing. Then someone taught me what real healing looks like." His gaze drifted to Anna in the crowd. "It is not about medicine or money. It is about kindness, patience, and believing in someone when they cannot believe in themselves." The audience applauded softly, unaware of the deeper truth behind his words. "Tonight," he continued, "we open the doors to the Carter Rehabilitation Center, a place where second chances are not a miracle, they are a promise." When he finished, the applause thundered. Cameras flashed again, but all Anna could see was the quiet pride in his eyes. Later, as the music began to play, Grant found her again near the terrace. The city lights reflected in the glass behind him. "You did beautifully," she said. "Your father would be proud." He exhaled slowly. "I hope so. He believed in redemption, even when I did not." He hesitated, then held out his hand. "Dance with me?" "Here?" she asked, glancing around at the elegant crowd. "Here," he said. She took his hand, and they stepped onto the small dance floor. The orchestra shifted to a softer tune. He held her carefully, as if afraid she might disappear. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then he whispered, "I keep thinking about the night I woke up. The first thing I saw was you." "That was just timing," she said. "It was more than that," he replied. "You were the first real thing in a world that felt completely gone." His voice trembled slightly, and before she could speak, he continued, "Anna, when I said I did not want to do any of this without you, I meant it. You have been my anchor, my reason to fight." She looked up at him, her breath catching. "Grant." But before she could finish, he added quietly, "I am not asking for gratitude. I am asking for a chance to love you honestly, without hospitals, without pain, just us." The music swelled around them, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. She rested her hand over the silver watch still tucked in his jacket pocket, feeling it beat in rhythm with his heart. "Maybe," she said softly, "it is finally time we both stopped running from what is real." He smiled, his eyes bright with emotion. "Then stay," he whispered. "Stay with me." The applause from the ballroom faded into the background as they swayed together, two souls who had found each other through the wreckage, proof that even the deepest scars could become something beautiful. 1 year later, the Carter Rehabilitation Center stood quietly on the edge of the city, overlooking a small lake where the sunlight danced across the water. The building was simple but full of life. Patients in wheelchairs laughed as they practiced therapy in the garden, nurses chatted softly, and the faint scent of lilac drifted through the hallways. Inside, a photo hung near the entrance. Grant and Anna on opening day, standing side by side, smiling. Beneath the picture was a small plaque that read, "For those learning to live again." Grant walked through the corridor that morning with a mug of coffee in one hand and a file in the other. His stride was steady now, confident, but when he looked through the glass into the therapy room, his expression softened. Anna was there, helping a young boy adjust the brace on his leg. She laughed at something he said, her eyes glowing with that same warmth that had once pulled him out of darkness. When she finally noticed him watching, she smiled, shaking her head as if to say, "I told you to take a break." He lifted his coffee in mock surrender, and she rolled her eyes playfully. Later, they met on the rooftop garden where everything had started. The sky was painted in hues of gold and pink as the sun began to set. "It feels strange," Anna said softly. 1 year ago, you could barely walk. Now you run this entire center." "Correction," Grant said, standing beside her. "We run it." She smiled, looking out over the lake. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I had not been assigned to your case?" "Every day," he said. "And every day I thank fate for making sure you were." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small wrapped in cloth. "What is this?" she asked, curiosity lighting her voice. He unfolded the cloth to reveal the silver pocket watch, the same one that had once symbolized regret and loss. Only now, it looked different. The dent had been repaired, the glass polished to a soft shine. "You gave this to me," she said, confused. "I did," he replied. "But I wanted to give it back. Changed, like both of us." She opened the watch carefully and gasped. The old inscription was gone, replaced with new words etched inside. "For the one who taught me to live." Her eyes shimmered as she looked up at him. "Grant, this is beautiful." He took a slow breath, his voice low. "Anna, I spent years building things that meant nothing. But this, what we built here, it is real. And it is because of you." He knelt then, right there on the rooftop garden, the sunset framing him in gold. From his pocket, he took out a small ring, simple but elegant. "You once told me healing takes time," he said. "I think my time has finally come. Will you marry me, Anna?" For a heartbeat, everything around them went silent. The wind, the city, even her own pulse. Then she nodded, tears spilling freely down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking with joy. He stood, slipping the ring onto her finger, and the world seemed to exhale. The wind carried the faint chime of the lake below, as if nature itself was celebrating. She rested her head against his chest, hearing the steady rhythm of his heart, the sound she had once prayed would never stop. "You know," she said through a soft laugh, "I always believed the universe puts people where they are needed most." "Then the universe did something right for once," he murmured, kissing her forehead. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared behind the horizon, the pocket watch ticked quietly in her hand, marking not the passage of time, but the start of something new. Grant Carter, once a man broken by tragedy, and Anna Monroe, the nurse who refused to give up, had found something far more powerful than recovery. They had found each other. And as the lights of the center glowed softly below, their story became a promise that love, when born from kindness, could heal even the deepest scars.